Hello and welcome back to another episode of Charla Football. I'm your host, as always, Gerardo, and here I have a very special guest, Diego from Pub Footy, also a very avid follower of the USMNT and the Ecuador national team. Obviously, we just finished watching Ecuador versus Mexico, a game that was played in Guadalajara, and we had a little bit of time to let the result marinate. And now we're going to give you guys our full reaction to what we saw from both teams, and then also talk about the biggest takeaways from this match. But before we get into everything, make sure you guys subscribe, like, check out all the platform links down below, and make sure you guys subscribe to the boys over here at Pub Footy. They're doing an amazing job. Diego, thank you for hopping on, bro. I appreciate you. How are you feeling? What was your initial reaction after that match that we saw last night?
G, my man, always good to talk to you and appreciate you having me on. Wow, I think Ecuador is on fire right now because of our coach Becasese. Not many people are happy with the performance overall, not only in the Mexico game but in the window. Yeah, not not the best performance from the Ecuador side.
Yeah, I would say for Mexico, I think they stepped it up. It's honestly a little easier after a 4-0 belt to ass against Colombia. Any result that's not 4-0 probably looks like a step forward. I was actually surprised the way Mexico came out against Ecuador because I was very frightened of this Ecuador team. Obviously, given that they finished second in CONMEBOL, defensively they're very strong, but I was surprised in the sense that I thought Ecuador were going to be more intense, especially those first 45 minutes. If anything, I saw the roles kind of reverse. I saw a Mexico team that surpassed Ecuador in their intensity and were pressing up high. They were not scared to, be up all in their faces pretty much. And that's where you saw Mexico capitalize, obviously, off of the first real clear chance was, I think it was your boy Vite, who we
Yeah.
were up in the match before or in the pre-match preview. We were hyping him up, and then literally in the first 2 minutes of the match, gives the ball away. I think it was between him and Pacho, right? There was just like a little miscommunication there. Chiquito, Chucky Lozano, and Berterame pressing up high on them, winning the ball back, and then Berterame essentially left 1v1 with Galindez, and Berterame doing what he does in his natural position as a striker, because one of the things that has been bugging me so much is that when Vasco Aguirre calls these players that we call naturalizados, he tends to put them in the wrong positions. Like Quiñones out on the left wing, he was putting Berterame out on the right wing. This time we saw Berterame start as a striker alone, and he did a very good job. But overall, I think Mexico pressing Ecuador very high. I think they did an impeccable job, and honestly could have scored up to 5 goals if we were more clinical going forward.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Mexico saw the USA game and saw that, the goal for USA came off of a high press, Pacho mistake, picks off, we get scored on. So Mexico, I think, doubled down on that. They saw, okay, these guys have a hard time playing out of the back. They don't have Moises Caicedo. They're trying to figure out who's going to replace him. And we used Alcibar and Vite as well. Actually, we used Alcibar and Franco kind of as that double pivot in the middle. And we just were not able to break Mexico's high press. I think Mexico also played, I'm not going to say desperate, but Mexico played with, 5 times more the intensity. They're home. They just got whooped by Colombia. So they needed to bring it. And a lot of these players, right, didn't start in that first game, right? So it's another chance for them to show and prove themselves to be on this roster. And yeah, Ecuador had no answer for Mexico's press. That's how the goal came. And really, the whole first half, we were not able to get any sort of possession, any sort of cohesion in the midfield coming out of the back. And then I told you in the pregame, right? Preciado, he is an outside back. He's fast, but Becasese is pushing him up, playing him almost as a winger. Could not handle the press, could not handle the speed of the game. Also, the ball was rolling so fast. It was just a frantic first half, and he doesn't have the best touch, right? And so when all of these things come together, Preciado was not able to get in the game, and he gets subbed off within the first 25 minutes.
Yeah, that was actually insane. It was also crazy. I think that both the ways the goals happened, I think they were like how we had mentioned while we were watching the game, we were texting each other. It was two gifts from both teams. So
Yeah.
obviously, they're giving the ball away in the midfield, and then on our end, it was a simple free kick. It was the ball in possession. I think it was someone gave the ball into Romo. It was Vasquez into Romo. Romo then just with the lazy pass in between both center backs and Lira, all of them kind of like, oh, where's the ball going to? And at that point, and in Valencia picks him off, and he's left 1v1 with Tala. And I mean, first off, do you think that was a penalty? Because in my opinion, I don't think it was a penalty. The ball, Ener Valencia completely left the ball. He forgot about the ball. He falls forward onto Tala, and yes, they do
Yeah.
make contact. Tala does not touch the ball. So, I mean, there's the argument that it could or could not be. In your opinion, what did you think when you saw that?
Man, objectively, I thought it wasn't a penalty.
Mhm.
It was not. It was not a penalty. He obviously he loses the ball, and then once he knows that he lost it, he kind of throws his leg and throws his body onto the keeper. Keeper
Yeah,
obviously is going to make the contact. Yeah, we'll take the gift. We gave you guys one. We'll take one. I was surprised that Alcivar took the penalty. It was Yeboah who held the ball,
yeah,
then gave it to Enner, and then
yeah.
Enner gave it to Alcivar. And if you've been watching Libertadores in Sudamericana, Alcivar plays for Independiente del Valle.
Mhm.
And um in their last quarterfinal, they were down 2-0 to Once Caldas. Once Caldas beat Valle in Ecuador,
Mhm.
and then they went to Colombia. Independiente del Valle turned the table around. They went to PKs, and Alcivar took a PK there as well. So I was fairly confident because of that he was going to step up to the plate and execute. So
Yeah, that was kind of weird to see like three different handoffs or two different handoffs during that
yeah,
play.
never seen that before, honestly.
Yeah, because I saw that Tala Rangel, the Mexico goalkeeper, he went to the bench to go talk with the goalkeeping coach.
Yeah,
He was giving him water bottle or some notes or maybe some pointers on how Ener Valencia takes penalties. Because I'm sure everybody at that point thought, oh, this is Valencia's
for
penalty.
sure.
Then yeah, it eventually gets handed off to Alcivar and he converts. Yeah, the first half, like how you said, was very full of mistakes. It was full of mistakes on both sides, and then a second half. I mean, there was just pure South American ball, or just pure America's ball in general. Like it was just foul after foul, yellow cards back to back. I kind of felt bad for Chiquito Sanchez. He was the one running everything in the midfield for
Yeah,
Mexico. He kept getting knocked down like every 5-10 minutes, which then in turn turned into yellow cards to almost every Ecuador player in the back line. It was a very intense second half. There was really no football to be played. There was maybe like one moment that Mexico had. I think it was a ball from Santi Jimenez into Marcel Ruiz that Galindez does deal with very well. And
yeah.
then I couldn't even remember a clear Ecuador chance. I don't know if you do on that second half.
I think there was some moments we I think Kendry coming in because he replaced
Yeah.
Preciado in that first half. I thought he brought a little stability in Ecuador's play. We were able to put Franco on the right. Franco's better on the ball with his feet because he's a midfielder, so he was able to help us play out. Kendry brought a little bit of football to our play. I thought in the first, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes in that second half, Mexico didn't press. It was almost like Mexico pressed us the whole first half, and then in that second half, they kind of held back a bit and were holding their line maybe at the half line or at the 60. And
Mhm.
so Ecuador had some moments where they were able to put some stuff together. I thought Kendry, uh, the whole fight that happened was a play, that Kendry creates, and then he gets fouled, and then the whole fight breaks out. We get a good free kick there. Alciva had a good shot. Towards the end there, we had some good moments where we got a cross, and so there was something, but yeah, it was no clear. Rangel has to make a save like the way Galindez did.
Yeah, nah. And the second half, it was just what's that word that most people use, like haram ball, terrorist ball.
Yeah,
Honestly what it was. There was really no football in that second half, but I enjoyed the intensity from both teams, specifically from Mexico, given how it went in the last match. It was definitely something that was needed. Like how we mentioned, there were 7 to 8 changes from that match to this match, and I feel like the players on Mexico's end really did step it up because it was looking very great for La Selección in this window. I feel like we could have gotten a better result, at least a 2-1. But at the end of the day, football's not about what you deserve. It's really about what you do on the pitch. Now, kind of shifting gears a little bit, I want to talk about your takeaways from Ecuador in this match, what you learned, and then I'll give my 3 takeaways as well. We can do what we did in the last episode where we kind of
sure.
bounced off of each other. I'll let you go first since you're the guest. What was your first takeaway from this match between Ecuador and Mexico?
Yeah, so I think my first takeaway is that all of the Ecuador fans and the media, our worst fear is coming true. right? We saw throughout the whole qualifiers how great defensively this team was. And yes, there were moments where Galinas had to make a big save here and there. If you watch the highlights against Colombia, where we beat Colombia away 1-0 off of Ener Valencia magic moment, we should have lost that game like 4-5-1. Galinas makes unbelievable saves. Colombia just couldn't find the back of the net. It was like we had a mano negra just like helping us that whole game, right? So the worst fear of Ecuador fans are coming true. We all said it, that great. We're doing okay in the qualifiers. We're getting the results that we need, but we cannot bring this football to the World Cup. We might as well not even go. And these last two games, USA, Mexico, it was chaotic. It doesn't matter that Hincapié and Caicedo and Plata weren't on the field. We have a big problem with the style that we want to play because we have no style, right? A lot of it is very individualistic. You saw the game, right? Yeboah, Enner, Angulo, they just get the ball, they put their head down, and they don't know what to do. They want to just take it themselves. And so it's a big problem for Ecuador right now. And Becasese is really on the hot seat. I would say very similar to Felix Sanchez Baz. He's almost at that level of hate from the Ecuador media. So, yeah, not good. Not a good showing in these last two games. And so, yeah, our worst fears are coming true. Sucks.
Do you feel like the inclusions of Plata, Caicedo, and Hincapié, looking forward to the World Cup and obviously having like the best players available, you could see something different? Obviously, I know in CONMEBOL you guys did fairly decent, but based on what you're telling me right now, do you feel like those players are seriously like the key for Ecuador moving forward?
They're 100% the backbone. You include Bacho in there as well. Enner, definitely the backbone. I would say we would have played better, definitely better against Mexico and USA. But again, going forward, we still don't have anything going forward. And that is the big problem, is that they would help us solidify. Moises would help us with the press,
Mhm.
play out of the press. He would help us defensively as well. Hincapié, lock down defensively. He will help us defensively, but we don't have anything going forward. And we have no thoughts about going forward.
Gotcha. Now, as for Mexico, my first key takeaway, I think, was the aggression. An aggression that we didn't show in that first match against Colombia. We showed it all in that second game against Ecuador. Aggression does matter, especially facing off against teams like any other team in South America.
Yeah.
And looking at the World Cup, where Mexico technically isn't the best team in the world. They're going to be facing a lot of teams who are going to be technical. They're going to have technical levels above this Mexico team. I think you have to at least be able to match intensity, be aggressive, and you have to play like that Haram ball, that terrorist ball. It is what it is. You got to do what you have to do. I think that aggression does matter. And we saw those first 45 minutes specifically against Ecuador were some of the best 45 minutes I've seen under Vasco Aguirre. I think there's been moments. There hasn't been a full 90 where we've seen a team that's this aggressive, creating clear opportunity after clear opportunity. I would say maybe against Honduras in the quarterfinals of the Nations League, and then against maybe the USA back in Guadalajara as well, and in the Gold Cup. Yeah, so there's only a handful of matches that really we saw like this aggressiveness from the Mexican national team, and this one was no exception. As they were just as aggressive as they needed to be. We had at least 4 or 5 chances, kind of leading into the second key takeaway, which I'll explain after you give your second key takeaway.
Yeah, I think just kind of going along with our biggest fears coming true, I think we still don't have an answer for Caicedo being out in that first game. We saw in the first game a midfield of Alcibar, Bite, and I think they were the two, and then Kendry would tuck in from out wide. This time we started with three in the middle. We started with Franco, Bite, and Alcibar, which I think will be the three that Ecuador start with in their first game. But you saw, right, with high intensity, high pressure from Mexico, we had no answers. So again, if I'm an opponent of Ecuador's, come next summer, I'm gonna look at this tape specifically and just know that if Ecuador really tries to or if I know that if I high press Ecuador and Ecuador tries to play out the back, we can cause a whole lot of trouble for Ecuador. And normally in the qualifiers, once Ecuador gets this pressure, and if Caicedo doesn't find a way out, we'll just lump it over the top, which again, not the prettiest football, right, that we've played in qualifiers, but that's how we got the job done. We saw Becasese trying to play out the back. That's what he was saying, that he was trying to find different ideas and different solutions. But we did not find a solution. We still don't know how we're going to play. I think, again, the trio is mostly solidified in the middle without Caicedo, but the how, we're missing it.
Definitely. Piggybacking off of what I had mentioned of my first key takeaway, saying, that the aggression, winning the ball so high up in the opponent's pitch, but then what do you do with that once you do get the ball? I think missing Raul Jimenez, you miss any opportunity going forward. No Raul equals no goals. That's my second key takeaway. Clinicality was definitely missing, especially those first 45, where Berterame had a clear header in front of goal that he just kind of hits over the bar. We saw Chucky Lozano on the right side hit the ball out wide. Chiquito Sanchez as well, kind of with the fake pass into Chucky, and then he rolls the ball over, and then he hits it with con la de palo with his left foot, goes wide as well. There was clear chances. They're not little half chances. They were in front of goal where if someone as clinical like Raul Jimenez or Gilberto Mora, someone with the technical ability to be clinical in front of goal with the finishing ability, I think we would have seen maybe a 2-1, 3-1, possibly even a 4-1. I don't know, but definitely that was missing. I think Mexico are so dependent on Raul Jimenez's brilliance, on Raul Jimenez's finishing. And keep in mind, he's not even a world-class striker. He's just a good striker, which is right now what Mexico just doesn't have. We have Asante Jimenez, who, at Milan has been going through a tough time. And now with La Selección Mexicana, he has his moments, but overall it's just been a tough time for him as well. Yeah, it's looking we're looking like we are very Raul Jimenez dependent, which I don't know if it's good or a bad thing, to be honest.
Yeah. We talked about it, right? That it's just like Ecuador. Ecuador is very Ener Valencia dependent, right? He scored our last, I don't know, whatever, 5 goals in World Cups. You need somebody to take over, right? If Raul gets hurt or if Raul needs a break, especially in the World Cup, you can't be, the one trick pony that we spoke about. I also, just like you, I wasn't thrilled about Quinones playing on the wing as well, right? We said that Santi needs some help, and we said maybe a double forward would be helpful. I thought Quinones was okay on the wing, and he definitely caused some pressure. He actually faced Chucky faced our young fullback Yamir Medina, who played over Pervis Estupiñán because Estupiñán got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought the Lozano and Quinones, both veterans, going against Medina because they switched, mid first half. I thought that was a good advantage for you guys. But I personally didn't like Quinones on the wing. Quinones is definitely more of a 9.
Yeah, I don't see him as a winger. He's not quick enough, to beat a man. We saw a lot of his touches are pretty heavy. He's good, with his back behind the goal, like holding the ball up, holding pressure up. I like him as, like how you said, the double 9, maybe playing under the striker, which is where he plays in Saudi Arabia. So I really don't understand why he keeps playing as that left wing position.
Yeah.
I don't know, bro. It's weird.
I was also gonna ask you, what did you think of Chucky's performance? I haven't seen Mexico play, in these last couple of games, but I know Chucky it's his first game back in quite some time. I thought he was dangerous in some moments.
Yeah, he's been underwhelming since the recent roster. He was called up for the September friendlies against South Korea and against Japan. I think he played both matches, if I'm not mistaken, but did not offer anything going forward. Obviously, with Chucky, you get a lot of sacrificio, a lot of up and down. In the same, I guess, in the recent match against Colombia, obviously we were played off of the park. We didn't see anything of him either. But in this match specifically, I liked the combination between him, Berterame, Chiquito, and even Quinones. At least when they were pressing up high, they would do it well all together.
Yeah,
that speed definitely was key on that right side for Chucky Lozano. Overall, I think he had a decent window. I'm not. At the end of the day, like if he doesn't score or assist or really provide anything else besides just his high press, like I need to see more from our wingers. That's one of the things with Mexico right now is the wingers they don't offer any threat going forward. Alexis Vega isn't the same Alexis Vega that we see with Toluca and Liga MX. Chino Huerta, he's been at Anderlecht, and even at Anderlecht, he can't find a rhythm. Quiñones is not a winger. Chucky Lozano, 31 years old, playing in MLS when he could have stayed in PSV if he wanted to. Like,
Yeah.
we don't really have anyone that's all that threatening, all that scary on the wing.
Yeah. I mean, totally agree. Ecuador has the same problem. I did like though how Mexico, in moments, combined up top, that one pass Santi to Ruiz,
Mhm.
um, the the small midfielder as well. What is his name again?
Eric El Chiquito Sanchez.
El Chiquito. Yeah, Chiquito, I think in the middle was a big problem, but he also like helped combine in the midfield and then spring some guys forward. Which again, Mexico is always has that, right? When you play against Mexico, Mexico is gonna find these combos, which is why I love watching Mexico play. I think just Mexico needs more of that, right?
Yeah.
Like how if individually you can't break a team down with these moments of brilliance, how can you collectively try to find ways to combo play and get behind people? And it's the same thing that Ecuador needs, right? Ecuador, same thing, doesn't have these wingers besides maybe like a Plata who can really break a team down. So how can we combine and get in behind? So yeah, I think just both teams need more collective play, especially up top. Hopefully, Mora is one of these guys that helps unlock that for you guys.
Hopefully. Well, so would you say that collective play is that your third key takeaway, or?
I mean, I think my third key takeaway is we don't have. Well, my third key takeaway actually is everybody in the world can see Ecuador's talent potential besides our coaches. The Felix Sanchez Vaz could not see the talent and could not bring this team to the next level.
Mhm.
Becca Sese, I think, is doing the same thing. I think if it wasn't for the work that Gustavo Alfaro did in finding Pacho and finding Caicedo and finding Incapié, if it wasn't for the work that that guy did, Ecuador would be in shambles right now. And so Ecuador does have a lot of players. We had this one player who plays in Liga de Quito, is in the semifinals of Copa Libertadores. Didn't see any single time. Maybe he saw like 1 or 2 minutes in the USA game, didn't play against Mexico.
Mhm.
So when you have a player like that who is thriving in the local league, but also in Copa Libertadores, which is the equivalent of Champions League,
Mhm.
right? How do you not put him in some of these games and just see what he can do?
Yeah.
Becca Sessa in his press conference, he said, well, we didn't play with players that are in the top 5 leagues in Europe. So we did okay. So he basically wrote off any player that plays for Ecuador, any player that's doing really well in Sudamericana. Independiente del Valle is in the semifinal Sudamericana. Liga de Quito's in the semifinal of Libertadores. Completely writes that off. Completely writes off that Ener Valencia and Vite are playing in Mexico. And basically just saying like, hey, we did the best we could with the players that we have. And so to all of the Ecuadorian fans and to all the media, it's a slap in the face. He doesn't see the talent that we have, and which is why he is getting lit up. So, yeah, our coaches just can't see the talent that we have, and it's frustrating.
Yeah, it's weird because, like, I mean, Copa Libertadores, Sudamericana, they're some of the top competitions in all of the Americas. I mean, like how you said, it's essentially like the Champions League, but on this side of the water. That is actually crazy. They didn't get no minutes. He didn't get no minutes specifically.
Crazy, crazy.
Now, my last key takeaway for Mexico is that we actually look good with three defenders. Now, I know we weren't playing with three at the back, but the inclusion of Israel Reyes at the right back, who isn't a natural right back, but he does play that position. He plays it very well. And I think he does a way better defensive job than Jorge Sanchez because he does not go forward at all. I mean, maybe he had like one opportunity where he went forward. And in that one opportunity where he did go forward, he forced Galindez to make a save in the first half. But overall, he tucks in right next to Montes, right next to Vasquez, and he allowed Mateo Chavez, who isn't the best defensively. He is very intense. He will go up and down, and if he does get beat, he has the pace to track back. But going forward, Mateo Chavez had all the liberty to go forward. And I really liked how Mexico looked like with three proper defenders at the back. Obviously, looking at Lira too, who would tuck in as like another center back. So essentially, sometimes even looking like four at the back. But yeah, overall, I think that is the way to go. No more Jorge Sanchez, who I know Mexican media has been shitting on him for a while. I myself as well, I'm not a big fan. Those first 45 minutes against Colombia, he did decent, but then the second half, Luis Diaz just tore him a new one. Like Luis Diaz ran him off of the park. Reyes is a better defender, and I think El Te Cumple, like he does a decent enough job to just get by. I mean, he's not a world class right back, but
Yeah.
defensively, like you're not you're not going to get many problems with him. And on the ball too, he's very good with his feet. So
Yeah.
my
I agree. I thought Chavez was lively. Chavez kind of plays similar to how I played, right? Like I wasn't the best defender, but I played left back. So when I went up, I was always involved in the attack. I had a lot of liberty going forward. And Chavez took advantage of that. And I thought he gives you that extra attacker, right? He gives you that extra third runner, or he would create, right? And then he would try to slip people on. So Chavez was really lively. Ray is, like you mentioned, if you play five in the back, or whatever, or the three with the two wing backs, so essentially five.
Yeah.
If Reyes is not the best attacker, right? He at least was good on his feet. He at least was able to help, play, like help possess and then play forward, right? And if he wasn't going too high up, he's not getting exposed in the back. So, yeah, I thought it was pretty well balanced for the most part. I think my like personal, I guess, view on Mexico and Mexico's defense is still a bit slow. I feel like if you guys get caught maybe on a counter or ball over the top, I
Yeah.
feel like the two center backs can be exposed a bit. So again, the high press did help you guys because you didn't allow Ecuador to even look up and play these balls over the top. So I think it was a good strategy for you guys to, not let that happen and definitely keep everything in front of you. I think the best way for Mexico to move forward is definitely not get caught in counters and not get caught tracking back, because I think that's one of your biggest flaws for you guys.
Yeah, I know. Imagine, I know we're gonna face France, I think, in March, one of our friendly, like a Mbappe, a Dembele running in behind because we're caught high up, pressing like that.
Exactly.
That's gonna be very dangerous. So yeah, definitely has to be a better read from Vasco and his team. Any final thoughts that you want to include before we start wrapping things up?
Yeah, I mean, I think Mexico and Ecuador have fairly similar problems, which was why it was interesting to see both of them play together. Um, I feel that they're both still not World Cup ready,
Mm,
right? Maybe you feel differently, but I think Mexico and Ecuador should be in a much better place. Ecuador should have less of an excuse because we actually had qualifiers, so we actually should have our team and our ideas much more set.
yeah.
Mexico has an easier excuse, right? 'Cause they didn't have qualifiers; they only play friendly. So, yeah, I think overall not positive from the Ecuador side. Definitely not the best window for us. Probably the worst window of Becases's stint with Ecuador. And I just think we both should be in a much better place than we are. And I know a few Mexican fans would agree, but yeah, would love to see how both teams adapt and try to implement different things heading into next summer.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, definitely not World Cup ready. I think hopefully come World Cup, we look a lot better. There's going to be an inclusion of a few more individuals looking like Gilberto Mora, Raul Jimenez, Edson Alvarez, Rodrigo Huescas. I don't think this team or this roster that was called up is going to be the same exact roster that we're going to see at the
Yeah,
2026 World Cup, especially that starting 11. There's going to be a lot of changes, even in the next window. Looking forward to the November FIFA window where Mexico's going to play against Uruguay and Paraguay. I mean,
that's
Vasco
right.
said
Yeah,
after the press conference, Vasco even said himself that there was players that he liked and a lot of players that he didn't like, which is why that he made those 7 to 8 changes. So I think we're going to start seeing some of these players just not on any more call-ups. I'm looking at players like Jorge Sanchez, Orbelin Pineda, Diego Lainez, guys that have been constantly called up over and over again, not just under Vasco, but under Jaime Lozano, Diego Coca, Tata Martino, and they're not game changers. They don't offer really much in the Mexican national team. In the league, maybe they do well, but Liga MX is a completely different beast once you play these top national teams in the world. Yeah, hopefully, like you said, it could be a good World Cup. But it was a good window for both of us, in the sense of being able to learn,
yeah,
what's going to be next for these teams looking at the World Cup. But yeah, thank you so much, Diego, for hopping on. Make sure you guys subscribe to the Pub Footy fam. I'll leave the links down in the description below, and make sure you guys subscribe, like, check out all the platform links down below. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.